Hey, soil mates, welcome to Men Metal Mayhem, the podcast where the brothers men take a deep dive into the discographies of our favorite metal bands. I'm your host, Brother Paul, joined as ever by my two brothers and co-hosts, Brother John
What we jacking to, goat?
and Brother Dave.
Oi, bruv.
Each season of the show, we are focusing on one band, and season one, Songs of the Damned. We are covering Soilwork. Today, part two of their ambitious 2013 double album, The Living Infinite. Join us as we rise above the sentiment. Now, before we dive in, I do want to say that the podcast has officially gone live. For now, we're just on Spotify and YouTube, but we'll kind of see how things progress. It's actually really kind of surreal to put a creative endeavor out into the world and get feedback and have people listen to it. So
One episode in, we have not been canceled yet.
that's true.
No DMCA takedown strikes.
Not yet. Yeah, when I upload it to YouTube, it does like a check and it can pick out the songs and say, yeah, you're good to use this. So,
Oh,
Nice.
really? Well, that's
yeah.
interesting and cool.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah,
long as
so
we're not playing the whole songs, basically, or
I
something like that.
I think so. It's got to be something related to that. And I think maybe it helps that I do like the fade out on them.
Yeah.
Our favorite production technique.
We
Fade
learned
out,
it from
fade
the
out.
masters themselves.
Yeah.
But we got to
Um,
have lots of clips to keep it interesting. People don't only want to hear the dulcet tones of our voices.
right.
Or do
Um,
they?
Well, we'll find out. But yeah, right now we are trending in the tens of listeners
Oh,
category.
hey.
So
We've already exceeded my expectations.
So we had 6 followers on YouTube. At least one of them is me.
yeah, one of them's
Oh,
me.
I got to get on there, make it 7.
So all right. As we said in the last episode, this album was released March 5th, 2013. And Brother Dave, what were you doing in kind of early 2013?
2013, I was officially in the PhD program at Arizona State University. I'd been there, what, 4 years at that point. I was immediately struggling because didn't really get much of any guidance because that's modern academia. Um, and I was still terrible at relationships. So, I mean, I was still depressed about things, but just not about the sun or Christianity. Um, I feel like
Mo money, mo problems.
I know it really out of the frying pan into the fire. Uh, I I feel like this is probably the point in my life where I was closest to being an incel, and I would have like,
Well, I'm glad you chose a new path.
Oh boy.
yeah. I remember around here I like dipped my toes into like shit like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan to like see what was this all about, and then I immediately put that Bachelor of Arts education I got in my minor in philosophy into effect and was like, wait, these guys are full of shit. I'm not gonna listen to these guys. So I noped out of that, thankfully. And I mean, good things are coming right around the corner. No spoilers. What else? And so instead of, I guess, just being depressed, I actually tried to fix my situation by like getting into things like the board game club and swing dancing. And the board game club was mostly a sausage festival,
As they
but
tend to be.
as they tend to be.
But fun.
But yeah, and I like ran a long-running D&D campaign for people that I met there. Fourth edition, it rocks, no matter what the internet says. Um, And then swing dancing, some of those people I'm still friends with today. So, uh, good times helped me kind of socialize myself after a very sheltered conservative Christian upbringing where I
Yeah.
wasn't
Wait, and
allowed to talk
sorry,
to ladies.
when did you move to Arizona?
2009.
Okay, so this is like
So,
4 years. Had you met people that you're hanging out with like through your PhD program and stuff? I always worry like if I were to move now kind of as an adult, how the heck would I make friends? I don't know. I don't have like
yeah,
I feel like I just kind of organically acquired all my friends over the years from knowing people like in school or just like friends
yeah,
of a friends
school
and they became
school
my
was
friends.
school was the best way to meet people for sure. Like, I met a handful of people in like undergrad classes, but I was the old guy at that point, so it was kind of awkward to make friends with all the children who were there.
You were like
But
24 or
How do you
something
do,
at the
fellow
time.
kids?
I mean, by now I would have been 28,
Oh yeah, by
something like that.
2014, yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
28, 29 in there. Um, so like 10 years older than a lot of the people that were in my classes. And it's still a big difference between like people starting college. They are still children in
Yeah,
retrospect. Um,
exactly.
but then PhD, once you get there and people are like going in at like 24 or 25, then some of those people are still my friends also. But I was just starting the program, so wasn't like good friends with people there yet.
Hmm.
So but yeah, it was hard making friends. It was weird just moving to a new city. I was lucky that my friend Josh moved down with me, and so I wasn't like completely alone. But yeah, met like I worked at a coffee shop. I met some people there, but it's really awkward making friends as an adult.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, good stuff's around the corner. In like 6 months, I will meet the woman of my dreams.
save it for
Uh,
next episode.
yeah, which is like 2 years in the future or something. Yeah, we'll save that. Musically, though, I think this was the year that I discovered Diablo Swing Orchestra. They just put out Pandora's Pinata, and it was a great album, and I stumbled
I'm
into
Oh,
it.
I'm really trying to be open-minded, but then you go and say something dumb like Pandora's Pinata, and how? Give me something to work with that isn't utter terrible.
Paul, have you listened to this band? Because I have not, but I feel like I need to.
I've tried a couple of times, and every
Tried.
time I'm like, what is this?
All right, I gotta just check it out and report back on my
Uh,
findings.
and then in in non-metal, I was also listening to a lot of Tim Minchin around this time.
Oh
He's
yeah.
the comedian pianist. I think he just put out his like him playing piano along with a full orchestra,
Yeah.
and it's really good. He's got some good comedy, and he also does non-comedy stuff. He did like the musical. What the hell was the musical he
Matilda.
did? Matilda. There it is.
And
Um,
he's Australian, right? He
Yes.
was
yeah,
in Back to the Outback. I'm almost certain.
He was.
That,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
he was
cartoon
pretty
on
boy.
Netflix. Oh, yeah, he was like the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun movie for anyone, especially if you have kids. You know, it's like a family, like feature-length animated film on Netflix. Shout out, Netflix, send us money. Now that we have tens of listeners.
yeah. So that's kind of where I was in life and in music. Brother Paul.
Well, 2013 was a real low point in my life. This was kind of the height of my alcoholism. I was living alone in Milwaukee, a city where I didn't know anybody. So I was isolated, depressed, and an alcoholic, and it just wasn't great. That being said, I don't really have a lot of memories from that time. It's all kind of a blur, and it's just yeah, it's really not wonderful to think about this period of my life, um, I did look back and I was listening to a lot of Clutch at that time. So,
I
yep.
don't think we've really mentioned Clutch yet, and
No,
they're great.
they are. I've seen them live once. They're awesome. I mean, they are really kind of dad rock at this point. Southern tinged, just,
I think it's funny how southern they are for
yeah,
being from Maryland.
right. They really lean into it. Um, but yeah, they're fun. I love Clutch. They got a lot of really good albums. But brother John, you and I and my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, we did go and see Soilwork and Jeff Loomis at the rave on March 24th. And I'm pretty sure that I was pretty wasted at this show. And
Oh yeah.
I don't recall a ton other than it vaguely that it was pretty good. And that I was shocked that they were playing at the rave bar, which is the smallest
Yeah,
venue
like the
in the
main
complex.
floor bar, there's not a lot of people there. I was surprised about that too. It wasn't even like the downstairs
No.
thing.
Yeah, I was like, this is what like local bands play at.
Yeah, there's
I
like an
remember
audience of
it's
maybe
crazy.
50 to 100 people there.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was,
not well attended, but it
yeah,
was cool to be like right there with them. But I too was probably hammered, wasted, because I drank a lot in those days as well. I don't remember anything too specific other than I think probably being blown away by Jeff Loomis's guitar mastery.
yeah,
Watching him right there, it's like, holy crap, this guy really does know how to shred.
yeah. So on that kind of, depressing note, let's move on to the year in metal and get to the kind of the selected works. And first up, we got Rotting Christ, who came out with Kata ton daimona eatoi, which I butchered the Greek, but it stands for "Do what thou wilt," which is very in line with Rotting Christ and their philosophy. That's actually a pretty good one. And hey, I always got to mention them. Agatha Damien came out with In Darkness. That the title track on that one is really good. It's a solid album. And then we have Shade Empire came out with Omega Arcane, and this was a band that I discovered from Spotify, and I enjoy them. They're kind of this like symphonic black metal band with they I'd be interested in doing an episode on their 2017 album, which features a surprising amount of trumpet. Um,
I'm
and
immediately into it.
I know I I think hold off on listening to them until we do a one-off. I think that album caused their lead singer to leave the band because he didn't
Too much
like
trumpet.
too much trumpet. But this one, it's a little more standard. It's pretty
And
good.
was it
Um,
ska trumpet?
no, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Sadly.
Well, then why did he leave the band?
I don't know. And then Sub Rosa, More Constant Than Gods. I fucking love this band. And this album in particular is really good. They're just a female-fronted doom band from Salt Lake City. Tons of violin. And sadly, they broke up a couple of years later, but they just had a real run of three or four great, great albums. Um, and then this one's for you, Brother John. Kalma coming out with Seventh Symphony,
I know.
which
I was gonna call it out if you didn't. I like
I
those
know,
guys.
which again, I want to listen to it, but with a name like Swampfany, I
So
don't know.
they're, you know how Children of Bodom, the Reaper is kind of like their mascot.
Yeah.
There's like a swamp thing, I guess, that is like all of Kalma's albums kind of center around the swamp as opposed
So
to like the
cheesy.
Reaper. I mean,
Oh,
it is
you
pretty
gotta.
cheesy, but it's fun. And
Well,
I mean, I don't know, they're probably in the same genre, like extreme power metal as Children of Bodom, so they're kind of in that vein. All those Finnish bands are kind of crazy,
yeah. Well,
but they're
uh,
fun. Throw it on once in a while, mix it
speaking
up.
speaking of Finns with kind of a gimmick, Finn Troll
Oh hell
coming
yeah!
with Bloodswept here, and I yeah, I listened to their first two or three albums and then kind of fell off. I
Same.
saw them live and they were great, but yeah, the first ones they really hold a little spot in my heart. Um, And then finally, this one, kind of a dark horse coming in from Brother Dave, Alter Bridge with the album Fortress, which I'll admit
Yeah.
I had to text you to make sure this wasn't a joke because I think in one of our early episodes you were like, "Oh yeah, and just an album that came out in I think it was 2000 was a Creed." It's like,
Blew
"What?"
us all away. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
And we
made
made
fun
fun
of
of it.
Creed. And Alter Bridge is all of the dudes from Creed except for Scott Stapp, the singer. And they got a new vocalist and second guitarist in Miles Kennedy. And this, I think, is their fourth album, actually, third or fourth. Um, and I feel like they really hit their stride and like defined themselves as an entity with a different sound than Creed, and it's just really good. It's kind of um, it's they're not a Christian band, even though the guys are largely Christian. I don't think Miles Kennedy is, from what I remember. Um, but like generally positive themes and good musicianship somewhere in the realm between heavy metal and hard rock. It's just solid goodness.
But
Worth checking out.
not chin rock like Creed would be, where they're kind of like singing through their chin, like.
It is not. No, Miles Kennedy is a much better vocalist.
I
Well,
mean, that's all I got, Brother John. I know you always want to come in with
uh,
some metalcore release or
I mean, yeah, or just, well, you called out Kalma. I'll bring it in to explain what the Finns are up to. I think, is the Eternal Tears of Sorrow a Finnish band? I'm pretty sure they are. I could be wrong on
I
that.
sounds
But
about correct.
they came out with Saivon Lapsi, which was the last album that they put out. Apparently, they're not disbanded exactly, but their Instagram does say they're currently on a break. So maybe they've been on a break for the last 11 years because they have not put out anything since then. But
Oh, and
I always liked them a lot.
now I can put in the clip from Friends of "We were on a break."
Do it. Do it.
We were on a break.
Mors Principium Est and Death Said Live. That's a
Oh,
pretty good
is
one.
this
I
the
think that was the one maybe that you listened to that you're like, oh, this is better than
yes.
Liberation Equals Termination was the one that I
Well,
told you to listen to first.
because this is a band with drama, and I think this is the one they brought on a new guitarist after their old one and principal songwriter left. So they brought in this new guy, uh, Adam Gillian, and he just fucking crushes it. And read up on them to see recent-ish developments.
Oh yeah, I did. Now I don't recall exactly, but they kind of like kicked him out of the band
Yeah,
within the last year or two and like against his will. And he's like, what the fuck, man?
right.
And they're like, tough shit. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how the conversation went, but apparently he's, been booted. But yeah, he put out some pretty good stuff, and
Yeah.
I think he has a solo album. We should probably confirm what his name is, but he had a different solo album that he put out recently that I listened to, and
It's Andy
that dude,
Gillian.
Andy Gillian, that
Yeah.
dude can shred.
Oh man, he's the
Oh,
same age as me, slightly younger.
well,
God, that guy.
you're shredding on the podcast mic, baby.
Get the fuck out of here.
Well, here I wanted to call this one out too. So in the mid to late 90s, one of my favorite bands was Skillet, the Christian like rock band, I guess you would say. And they in 2013 were still putting out albums, and they might even still be to this day.
Oh, they
But
absolutely
I
are.
I looked at that. They came out with an album called Rise, and I had never heard of that before, but put it on Spotify, listened to a few songs. I'm like, all right, this is not terrible. It's just kind of like radio hard rock, I guess you would say. But Skillet always held a special place in my heart from their debut album from I think 95 or 96. And then their second one I listened to a lot too back in the high school days. So that's it. Oh, gotta shout this one out too. Mercenary. I love those guys. They came out with Through Our Darkest Days in 2013. Might have to cover Mercenary someday on the pod.
Yeah.
They've been pretty legit and consistent throughout their history, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mercenary is so good.
absolutely. Well, let's move on to Soilwork. We covered the personnel last episode, but I thought now would be a good time to talk about just kind of how they are a revolving door of members. It's been about it's been 15 years since their debut album came out, and at this point, we only have one founding member left in the band, Bjorn Speedstrid, because Olaf Flink, the bassist, has played on every album, but they actually had a bassist who left prior to recording their first album, a guy named Carl Gustav Duus. So 15 years on, we only got one founding member left, and I thought let's just kind of walk through the tombstones and see who we've lost.
Yeah. Bjorn Speedstrid is the like the whatever you call him, the guy tending the graveyard.
Yeah. Make a
Just
music video of that.
keeping the grave swept and clean.
Yeah.
Placing
Invite all
flowers
the old
out
members
on there.
back
Yeah.
just for the video where Bjorn kills them. He is
Absolutely.
the average stalker.
Oh,
Shouldn't it be called stabbing the drummer? Wasn't that one of the
Yeah.
comments that we shouted out? We have your
well,
third drummer now.
we've lost keyboardist Carlos Olmberg, and we have lost the following drummers: Jimmy Person and Henry Ranta. And guitarists, we've gone through four of them. Ludwig Svarts, Peter Witchers, I mean, twice, 'cause he came back and then left again. Olaf Frenning and Daniel Antonsen. So four guitarists, two drummers, a keyboardist, I mean, and a partridge in a pear tree. Spoiler alert, the hits are gonna keep coming.
Oh yeah,
So,
here's the question. How are our friends the Lord in Vain doing?
oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I should have had it locked and loaded. Um, Although, I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, shout out to whoever is on their Instagram because they had messaged me on my personal account, and I was like, "Hey, we starting a podcast. We shot you guys out in our first episode," and they said, "Hey, let me know when it drops. We'll give it a listen." And so I did, and they said, "Hey, thanks for this," and I'm gonna.
now, do we
There are
have
41
one
listeners.
star review? Oh, they
Yeah,
were at 36 previously, right?
yeah, they were at like 38, now they're at 41. So
Oh,
hey,
getting the triple M bump, baby.
oh yeah. Um, so. I mean, shout out to the Lord in Vain. I do like their stuff. I think I've referenced this band before, but Violent Work of Art is another Swedish industrial band and got a similar sound, which I love. So, you know, we'd love to interview you. But let's move on. Writing credits for this, I'm just gonna call it album. The second disc are weighted more towards Daniel Antonsen, who has four, or not Dan Anderson. Dude, David Anderson, not Daniel Antonsen. They're weighted towards Anderson, who has four solo
We even
credits.
we
It's the
even
same
made fun
guy.
of
He
that
just
last
grew a
week.
mustache. He's back.
Yeah.
This time, it looks like the doppelganger with the little sinister mustache going
Yeah.
on.
He has four solo credits, plus a co-write with Speed. Cordray and Speed each have two credits, and Carlson has one. Plus, we have one track with lyrics written by Olaf Link. Second album, 10 tracks, just under 44 minutes. So let's kick it off with track number one, Entering Aeons.
Before we kick this off, I feel like there might be some air that needs to get cleared after last week.
Uh-oh.
There was a lot of pushback from you boys on how
But
I
your hot
reviewed
takes on the last couple songs?
my hot takes on the last three songs last week. And so I went back and I listened to them all several times to see if I was just taking crazy pills or what the heck was going on here. And I've got to say, I stand by almost everything that I said. The Windswept Mercy and Whispers and Lights still not doing it for me. I don't have anything to add to those songs, but I would like to reverse course a little bit on Realm of the Wasted. That song, the chorus and the timing transition into the chorus absolutely does not work for me. But the rest of the song is a certified banger. So I feel like it was a guy hitting a home run but he was fat, and so I said it didn't count because it wasn't perfect. And that's just not true. That the realm of the wasted is absolutely worth your time. Just needed to clear that up.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, we'll bully you into liking all the songs by the end of the season. Each
Yeah.
new episode, you'd be like, I went back and listened to the Living Infinite again and got a
It's a
revise.
6.6. Stop hitting me.
Oh,
mm,
okay. Boy, it is the day after Christmas when we're recording this, and just it's good to see you guys. It's been a little bit. But let's really kick it off and get into the track by track now. With track number one, entering Aeons. And Brother Dave, take us away because I want to see you set the tenor for this coming album.
Entering Aeons. I mean, it's a short little instrumental, and it's almost like a long intro to the next song, right? It even the end of it leads into the next song. So, judging it on its own merits, is it worth it? As an instrumental, it's fine. The things that stand out to me, couple things, is there are funny little dings on the cymbals throughout. That we were getting on, I think it was Realm of the Wasted also. Um, just Dirk having fun making silly sounds on the drums.
I didn't actually even notice that. I'll have to listen back.
Uh, but then at like 146, it transitions into a kind of spooky guitar part that
Yeah.
really made me want to put on my grandpa hat and stalk some dimly lit streets, maybe shrouded in fog. Um, I mean, overall, it does its job, I think, but it's an intro to the next song. What were your thoughts, Brother Paul?
Yeah, I mean, very much the same. It's a nice little instrumental. Yeah, nothing crazy. It does its job. It kind of resets after, um, the end of the
The
last.
real snoozers that were the last two
Oh,
Oh,
songs.
fuck
get the
you,
fuck
Dave. You're
out of
you're
here.
you're
No,
done.
it lets you know that it's like, hey, this is album number two. This is the start of this one. So I think it works. I kind of like when intros like bleed into the next track. So yeah, not a
Yeah.
ton to say here, Brother John.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty much what you guys said, but it kind of felt to me it's almost like the little musical intro that calls everyone back to their seats after an intermission. It's like, okay, we're getting ready to go. Find your seats. We'll flash the lights a couple times. And in general, I liked the sound of it, some sort of ominous overtones or giving mood to the album. And yeah, so I thought it did what it was supposed to do without feeling like just filler, right?
Yeah.
And being an extra long intro into the next song, I like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah. So let's move on. Track number two, Long Live the Misanthrope. And we got that kind of sneaky guitar, coming in. It's bleeding in from the first song. It's like it's not the ebo, but what's the thing he does where he's like playing kind of one note or one string? What's that called, Dave?
Pedal tone.
Yeah, pedal tone. I
Pedal
think
tone,
that's going
yeah.
on. And then
Hmm.
Mhm.
and then just some crushing brutality. Um, and it kicks us off with a real banger. And they do one of my favorite things, and I think one of their favorite things. They do the faux stop right at the 2 minute mark. And then they go right back into it. This song hits hard. I like it. Brother John.
Hell yeah. It's the first true song you could say on disc two, an unashamed banger, in my opinion. And I got to call out our segment Sick Riffs and Tasty Licks.
I can also play some pretty hot licks, too. You know, the kind that are just way up high on the tiny strings and you mash your fingers on them. Milli, 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 milli.
Because at 28 seconds, I think you were kind of saying this is the part where they really kick it off. There's like this awesome synth kind of solo going on behind everything else. And they do it again at from about 1 minute 49 to 1 minute 58. They pretty much do the exact same thing, but they almost pick it up a notch with some of the drums in that iteration. So, I mean, it's just a really cool way to lead into the verses. That I liked a lot. And again, kind of following in the footsteps of all those awesome songs on the first disc, a very singable chorus. I can sing it if you'd like. Or
You
try.
did so much singing on our last
reprise
episode. I truly
reprise
do
your
not
role.
need it again.
All right, as a Christmas gift to you both, I will not sing, but I did like the chorus on this one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's a great chorus.
And yeah, just nonstop fills, crazy drum beats throughout on the drums, back-to-back solos, kind of starting at the 3 minute, 39 minute. I mean, the song pretty much has everything, even has blast beats tossed in at the end for good measure. They're kind of checking off all the boxes. An unashamed banger, like I said.
I agree. I do.
I was like
waiting
waiting
for
with
that
bated breath. I know, literally, you said that, and I was like, whew, I breathed out. It's like, wow, Dave
I'm
didn't
putting
fail
you
me
at
this
ease
time.
so I can really dash your hopes later.
We've got our brother back. We've got our brother back.
In addition to the stuff you guys said, I wanted to point out around the 1 minute 10 second, they're doing some gallops on guitars, and the kick drum is playing along with the gallops, which a fairly common technique, but it's one that I really like. I like when the kick drum is not so much keeping the beat as backing up whatever is going on with another instrument, usually the guitars. Protest the Hero does it all the time also. And like Meshuggah is like the kings of that, where they keep the beat with the snare and the cymbals, and then the kick goes along with the guitars. Just a cool technique. And then I didn't think that the dropout worked on this song as much as it did on other ones. It felt oddly placed, and for how much it dropped out, like it went to silence.
Yeah.
And then it has kind of like this goofy synth wind up that comes after it.
Every word you've just
I like
said
that
is
part.
things that I love. A hard stop, goofy synth, boom.
All right.
You're not
You
wrong,
win
but I
this one,
think that we
Brother Paul.
like different things. So I was like, yeah.
But, you know, if the dropout has a 98% effective rate, you know, every couple of times out of 100, you're going to have one that misses, and they do it a lot. So that could
They
be
do
what's
do it a
happening
lot.
here.
And I think this is the most extreme dropout that they've done. And then just in the solo, it's like 3 solos back to back to back, which is great. And they're all good. And I think we hear a lot more of that progginess that seems to be the David Anderson sound. He's bringing something new to Soilwork, and I like it. And then we get a bunch of sweeps in the third solo, which is, I think, where Mr. Coudray is coming in for us. Just overall, good song, other than that dropout. Just kidding. I'll take the dropout. It's a good song.
That was a sweet cherry on top that made the song.
Yeah, would have been crap without it.
It's just a little flair.
Yeah.
I liked it.
That's something
I
for the
liked it.
fans. All right. Track number 3, Drowning with Silence. Brother John.
Another banger. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Starts a bit more mid-tempo, but it builds, and by like the 28-second mark, when Speed comes in with the vocals, it's moving at a decent clip. So even though it seems like it's starting a little slow, that's all left in the dust before long. And I mean, again, it just kind of checks all the boxes. It got great drumming. Guitar riffs are on point throughout. And let's see, at 1 minute 54, it kind of goes down to just like bass and drums briefly before the guitar solo comes in at the 2 minute mark. And that guitar solo I liked. It had sort of a sad, mournful feel to it almost. And let's see, at 328, cuts out except for some synths. But just for a few seconds and then drops into the chorus. That part hit really nice. So, I mean, there's a lot to love with this one. Brother Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a fine song. I like the solo at the 2 minute mark. And again, when are we going to get the Speed Strid rap album? Because there are moments in this song when his like flow or delivery is positively rap-like. So
Oh,
make it
did you have an
happen.
example? You should drop that in if you have an example, because I didn't really notice that.
Oh, I did.
But I do notice that from time to
Yeah.
time in
Um,
songs.
so yeah, I think maybe I am less gushing about this song than you are, but I think it's fine. It works well. I like it. Let's see what Brother Dave's gonna come in with. He's looking
I
perplexed. He's
Belongs
I
in a
might even
garbage can.
no, I might even like this one more than Brother Paul because he
oh
did not have. I think this one slaps.
yeah.
I
All right,
think
Dave, you're back.
I
You're back. You just had a weird mental lapse towards the end
He
of
I
was
that
in
think
a
they had a
fugue
episode.
weird
state.
last two songs. uh, I I was worried a little bit when it started off slow, kind of methodical, and I thought maybe they were gonna do a kind of boring second album or second disc here, but it picks up, like John said. And the one of the things that I like most about this song is the chorus is in 7/8, but you don't even realize it unless you're counting. So they do it really well. And 7/8 has like a really has a lot of momentum if you do it well. It can be really start stop if you do it poorly, but otherwise it can make you feel like you just have to keep moving forward. And I think they pulled that off really well here with the nothing's changed and nothing will. We still live the other truth. Yeah, it's in 7. Count it
It
for
makes us
yourself.
cope with our need for violence.
And
Who knows what they mean by that, but
I think this song might be about suicide. Not 100% sure. I do like the line, I can laugh in the face of God because I won't be loved in the end, just because it kind of fits that sad boy, angry depression
yeah,
vibes that are
I
kind of out of character for Soilwork at this point.
Is this his
To some
divorce
extent.
album?
I think it is because on the last one, a couple of songs were kind of hitting that way for me.
Yeah.
But that part you were saying, Dave, I like that too. And just like the flow of the part after that, he's like, look at all the pain that I felt, the truth that I've been to accommodate myself. A sideshow with misery, an affair with no dignity. I've lost myself. I've lost myself. So, oh, sorry, I said I wouldn't sing. I recant
I can't
everything
hold
I've
you
said.
back.
But I think that's a classic example of Soilwork at least having really good lines, even if you don't know what the song is about ultimately. Like
Hmm.
he's good at crafting those individual bits that stick with you vocally.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, I like it.
Yeah. Let's move on to track number
On to the
4.
next one.
Yeah, Antidotes in Passing, and you mentioned kind of the proggy nature. Does this song have the air of Opeth at the beginning?
That's
I
what I
didn't
put in my
Yeah,
notes.
like
I
it's
I
It hit
said
me that
proggy
way.
chord progression. I didn't
yeah.
specifically call out Opeth, but it's definitely there.
It
Yeah, I
gave
said
it gave
it's a bit reminiscent of some of Opeth's softer stuff,
right.
which I also like.
Yeah.
It's kind of a soft rock jam almost, but like in a good way. I like this one.
Yeah, I like that extended outro also. It starts at like 3:05 and goes to the rest of the song. I'm like, I like a long exit for a song. Not the fade out, but just you take your time. I mean, you get that in like post metal and doom all the time. It's just like a really long kind of wind up. But yeah, I'm feeling some prog elements in here, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, your
Well,
thoughts,
and
or John?
I was going to talk about the lyrics a little bit because we were just saying how sort of sad boy stuff showing up on this album. The chorus again is catchy and I like it a lot. Outside the world goes on, it just keeps turning. And he says, the feeling of being an outcast just keeps growing. And it's like, I don't know if that's truly how he feels, like if this is autobiographical, but if so, that makes me a little bit sad. It's like Soilwork kicks a lot of ass and they're so good. I don't think you should ever feel like an outcast, but
And he's got 5 pals that he hangs out with all the
yeah,
time.
just palling around. But emotions and relationships are a tricky thing. So even for talented musicians, they can deal with these kind of things. So, Bjorn, we're thinking of you, buddy.
Yeah. It's I
Just a dead air.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I'm thinking of you, even if my brothers aren't.
I'm not. No.
I hope you
Yeah,
don't feel like an outcast.
I hope Bjorn got through whatever he was going through and is living his best life now.
Well, he did get married a couple of years ago, so he
It's
overcame whatever divorce adversity may have been going on here, and you know,
or just got a
emerged
rebound. I hope it's the
well.
former.
Does it count as a rebound if it's 9 years after? A while to get back on the horse and ride.
Uh, he's not a
He took
gymnast.
his time and found true love. I'm gonna believe that.
Uh, but actually talking about the song, I think this is one of the first songs that's been fully clean singing throughout. There's like some screamed backing vocals, but I don't think any of the main vocals are screamed,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
is neat.
Soft rock jam.
Yeah, it is a bit of a soft rock jam. And it's another one that the drums stood out to me in a little after the 3:05 mark. Like the drums, I think it's the kicks again, are just really driving the feel of the solo as it's doing its soft rock thing. Overall, it's a little bit of a weird one as a Soilwork song. It's well done, but it's not one that I'd really come back to over and over.
Yeah, like this second half of the album, disc two, they do try out some different stylistic stuff, but I'm here for it. I don't know, I probably wouldn't want a bunch of songs like this, but as a one-off thing to kind of mix things up, I thought they did a good job. Sounds good. I'm not skipping it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna edit that part out. Me just saying yeah a couple of times. I have to do that a lot in these episodes.
Yep.
Yep.
Nope, leave it in. Leave it in.
All right, I will. Moving on to track number 5, Leech. Brother John.
I thought this one was kind of chaotic, but not bad. Overall, not a standout for me. I would say it's probably my least favorite on the second half of this album on disc two. But there's some cool drumming, has some blast beats throughout in different parts. And starting at 3 minutes 32 seconds, there were some cool noodly synths in the background. It wasn't like right in your face, but that goes on for like 10 seconds or so. And then there's this cool guitar slide thing that they do. So, it had some fun elements, just a little bit like too crazy maybe for me, not quite melodic like some of their other stuff.
Interesting, because I wrote, hell yeah, it is driving. And I wrote in my notes, it's a little chaotic, but the chorus
Mm-hmm.
soars, it's a bop. I like this one. This is good.
I'm more in the Brother John camp. This I think is probably the weakest one. There might be one other contender for weakest song.
We
But
all know what that one's gonna be.
um, they do interesting things switching between 8/8 and 12/8 time signatures, which is maybe what you guys are feeling with the bit chaotic the timing is just kind of they change it around a lot. Um, I wrote perfectly competent musicianship, but nothing here hooks me lyrically or musically.
0 out of 10. Yeah, just kidding.
Uh, well, let's move on to track number 6, The Living Infinite 2, Brother Dave.
I like it. Um, I think my favorite thing about this one might be the lyrics, actually. I mean, it's got good musical hooks, but at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, it does kind of overstay its welcome. But I do like the themes and the lyrical content that seems to be kind of about, pursue your dreams. You don't really need to know why. Like, pursuing your dreams is good in and of itself, is kind of what I get from this song. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
right there with you. I like this song. I love how it builds. And when the riff kicks in, kind of at, I think it's the 53-second mark, like that's just a killer riff. He does one of his fun vocal builds at 328, but in addition to him going up, like the guitars are going up with him as he does that. And now I'm like, oh, nice. What a fun little element. He mentions something about the damage done, which fun little reference to.
Call out to Dark Tranquility.
I think it, I hope it's that case.
Yeah, it's
But
the melodeath cinematic universe
yeah,
all touching each other.
yeah, no,
He
this is
should
a
really try to write a song where he calls out as many other melodeath song titles as he can. See just what he can get away with.
I he should do that. No, I like that it's like, the second one because The Living Infinite is on the first disc of this double album, and I like that this song also works. Even though it's titled like it's the second part and it works as well as the first. And yeah, lyrically, yeah, I like this hopeful take about just pursuing, your dreams and your hopes and being true to yourself. Um, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a bipolar album. Like he's got a lot of like angry divorcey stuff, but then kind of a handful of hopeful triumphant stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, when you're getting divorced, you got to be hopeful and triumphant. Maybe he's like, I chose the band, and my ex couldn't vibe with that, and it didn't work out. I mean, I was a musician from the start. What the fuck? You should have known, but people don't always get along for the long haul.
People
So
are
he
very
had
strange
to,
these days.
yeah, it's tough. It's hard out there for a melodeath pimp. Trying to get the money for the rent. All the Cadillac and gas money spent. Got a whole lot of bitches jumping ship. Um, Speaking of, well, this isn't really about the lyrics, but it was on songmeanings.com. The user Tiger Balm left the comment. The beginning of this song reminds me of the intro to MASH. I had never really watched MASH, so I pulled it up on YouTube. And you know what? The first couple seconds definitely sounds the same as the beginning
It's
of the
similar
MASH
enough.
theme
I heard
song.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So that
had to
guy
look
knows
it
what
up
he's
too.
talking about. Soilwork keeps drawing inspiration from diverse and unlikely sources. But my opinion, there's another banger of a song, catchy and melodic, emotional, powerful. No complaints.
All right. Nice. So let's move on to track number 7, Loyal Shadow. And here we get another little instrumental. Brother Dave, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and this one is basically a long outro to the Living Infinite. Uh, and it works. It brings. I, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, honestly. Like it's fine. It's I like the syncopation that's going on in the main riff. And I wrote that I like the riff that they've got going on at 1 minute 15, but I can't even actually recall what the tune is here. But it does its job, I think, because kind of gives a little downtime between the Living Infinite and the one that comes next.
Yeah, that riff at 115, that's a sick riff and a tasty lick. I had that in my notes as well. So pretty sweet. I feel like both of the instrumentals on this album, they just kind of add sort of mood and ambiance to the album as a whole. But I do like how
Hmm.
they kind of blend into the other songs. Because like the Living Infinite 2 sort of ends with this heartbeat sound that kind of comes into Loyal Shadow. And then at the end, this one kind of blends right into the next song, Rise Above the Sentiment. So I don't know, it just seems like more of a cohesive musical concept, so that rather than just being a couple of one-off short instrumental songs, they feel bigger than that.
Yeah, I kind of like the use of what they're doing with these instrumentals. They don't necessarily stand out as their own thing, but they work on the album as a whole. So
Hmm.
I kind of like that as opposed to be like, well, let's do an instrumental where we just wank around on the guitars.
Right. These aren't the big Steel Bath Suicide instrumentals,
Right.
which were also
Yeah.
good. But I
Yeah, I
mean,
like
these
those
are
ones too.
All right.
doing a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when you only have 18 songs for a double album, it's like, okay, we got to flesh this out a little bit. Let's throw a couple really long intro instrumentals and we'll just call them separate tracks.
yeah.
So 10 songs per disc, we're good.
Yeah. So that brings us to the single from this album, track number 8, Rise Above the Sentiment. Brother John.
Oh man, another straight up banger. I like this one a lot. And really, there's just from on both of the discs, there's just so many good songs. Got like banger after banger they're laying down. Like I said, they basically had 18 great songs and then two instrumental songs that they treated like glue to hold some of the rest of the album together a little bit. So it's great. There's some cool synths underlying the chorus on this one. They're doing some fun noodly stuff of their own. I thought that was kind of fun too. I don't know. They kind of come and go with how present the synths are on the different albums, but this one, they're not like really in your face, but I feel like they're doing more noodly, solo-y stuff, kind of subtly underlying some of the other parts. A little bit more like the Children of Bodom keyboards, but not like right in your face. They're doing that same kind of stuff in the background, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we know that Sven is a good keyboardist. And so it's nice when he shows up doing technically impressive stuff. It's
Yeah,
just been kind of absent recently, which is a little
yeah,
surprising.
I've noticed it a couple times on this one, so that's just nice flair they're tossing in.
I wonder what his side quest is during this time of life. Like why he's been absent from a couple albums. Now he's back. He's just like pops in and out.
Gonna write one song for you guys, and then I gotta run.
Gotta make this drop. He's an Italian gangster for some reason. Um, no, I think there's a there's a bit of a goofy section at the 2 minute mark going into the solo, like right before it. It's goofy, but overall, this is a great song and another good. And I keep using the word soaring. It's got this soaring chorus, which is just really good. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like the chorus on this one. I like they have a lot of use of 12/8 time signature on this one, which is basically 4/4, but you're doing triplets on each beat. So you got 3 notes per beat instead of just two. Um, and it's a nice it's a nice change from just like straight pummeling 4/4, which can get a little old. It mixes it up while still staying kind of in the uh same realm of music. Uh and then they slow it down into like a more straight 4/4. It's nice just kind of grooving throughout. And I agree with Paul. I like the chorus on this one a lot. I do want to call out the pronunciation right at the beginning of this song,
Yeah.
which is rise above the sentiment. Kind of like a TCHEE, sentiment.
What is he doing? It's so if you make the song title that word, know how to say that word.
Well, I think we can probably blame Devin Townsend, his vocal coach, right,
Yeah.
for not teaching him the difference between sentiment and sentiment.
And then this song is the only one on disc 2 that has video.
Oh, yes, I mentioned this is the single, so it's time for a little segment I like to call Video Killed the Melodeath Star. Boys, what do you think of this one?
I mean, it's good to see Ola Frenning still working with the band in
The
some
fuck out of
capacity,
here.
right?
Oh, what, Brother Dave? Oh, yeah, now John gets it.
Brother John, you just got it.
Oh,
I was like,
I picked
I
up.
was trying to think, should I have known what his involvement was? And then it struck me.
So
He
it
was the
starts.
star of the video.
It starts in Ola Frenning's, his elder care home, and he finds a tape that says, Soilwork, and he says, honey, and he pops it in the VCR, and it's just a home movie
You
of the guys
you
hanging
think
out.
it's gonna be you at first though, you kind of think it's gonna be a found footage like murder
Right.
thing because there's like kind of a scream and the guy running with the garden hoe or whatever that implement
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
and
is there
even
gonna be a murder?
musically, this song could have gotten a lot darker.
Yeah.
Right
Mhm.
at the beginning, it's got kind of like a driving. I could easily see it getting brutal.
Yeah, but then it turns out to just be some slice of life footage of the band Soilwork chilling, hanging around in
Yeah.
Sweden, and it must be a tape of a Soilwork music video because he's rocking out and dancing to the tunes. So it's almost a bit
But in
like
fast forward,
Inception. Yeah, yeah, it does do that a little bit. But like we're watching a music video of him watching a music video. So I don't know. But I'd like to hope that in 25 years, if someone was taking a video of me listening to Soilwork, it'd pretty much be shot for shot, looking like this old man just dancing by himself, having a great time, listening to a great song.
Yeah. This is a fun one. I
Life
like seeing
goals.
them just kind of palling around, having fun. And I think that's
yeah.
probably Speed's actual house because I've read interviews about like he lives on the coast and so they would go like swimming all the time. Because they could just
With their shirts on, apparently.
yeah, man, if you're metal, you got to keep the shirt on.
Well, yeah. Uh,
Uh,
you think
I,
when he invited everyone over to film this, he's like, "Come out to the coast, we'll have a few laughs."
I
I mean, it
I
is Christmas
do
time.
Yeah.
like I do like this more than even show footage,
Right.
which they've done a couple of times. I'd rather watch a slice of life or like pre-show footage or anything other than just playing the song because I don't know, playing the song is boring.
Yeah.
Though I mean, I would prefer CGI bucket head
Oh, a
cuties.
couple
Yeah.
cuties
Um,
there just hanging
If
around,
that
palling with
was all
them.
their videos, right? That would be great. Oh man, if they did like a combo live action CGI where the band were hanging out with the bucket heads, now we've got $1
mhm.
million
Or we're turned
video idea.
into the bucket heads.
Oh my
Oh
God.
shit.
I just got the greatest idea. So Nuclear Blast reach out to me. So we have this it's them hanging out and then right at the end of the video, what goes crashing into the sea behind them? The
Oh
boat from
shit,
Spectrum
the
of
boat.
Eternity. Boom. $1 million idea.
Oh, Hell yeah.
Bigger than Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Move over, Swifties. The creative force of Men Metal Mayhem is now making music videos for Soilwork. So, yeah, no, it's just it's a good fun video. Yeah. Now, I think now is the time that we will also end this segment and open up another one called Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics.
Lyrical tactic, vocal gymnastics.
Let me be honest. It was hard to find any kind of good song meanings, comments about this album. But
Yeah, they were sparse. Other than, well, they turned us on to the fact that there was the mash
yes.
guitars on the intro. But yeah, not a lot of weird song meanings comments this time around.
Yeah. But I think we need to break it out on this album because I think it was Brother John, you pointed out some of the fun lyrics, which it seems to be Speed's new
Right.
go-to.
A growing theme.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh!
So at a minute 36, the lyric is, "Let me categorize," in parentheses, "the seeds." And then it says, "We have planted to reject all our hopes." It's like, is he getting into farming? It's hard to know what's going on with Speed, but if he's sorting his seeds, planting them to become a farmer in lieu of a melodeath singer, could be hinting at a career shift. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's a pretty flawless reading of those two lines. Uh, Overall, though, I think the chorus is trending into the hopeful side of this double album. It kind of seems like his things are shitty, but they'll pick back up song. With the, now as the search goes on for another time to live, like he's not living now. He's looking for maybe a reason to live because things are bad. I might as well be gone, but I tend to always come back in the end. So it's a tribute to his own resilience, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or the
Maybe that
resilience of his
could also
seeds.
be the post-divorce anthem saying, "I'll come back in the end. This is not the end of me. Ex-wife, I will rise."
He's gonna return to his stalker-like ways.
Oh no. That was never about him.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there over the last couple of albums, I mean, maybe from the very beginning, there's always been talk of seeds, and it has trended towards the more agricultural. The earlier albums, it was
Thank-
more,
Thankfully,
yeah, it was more like,
less come, more actual seeds.
yes. So I think all the AI art we've made of Bjorn as a farmer gonna really come in handy. So I agree with Brother Dave's assessment. I mean, it's life is tough and shitty, but you rise and you go on.
In the words
Yeah.
of Arch Enemy, we will rise.
Oh, yeah. We need a mashup of those two songs. We will rise above the
Completely
sentiment.
don't go together.
Nope. Okay, well, let's move on to the penultimate song, track number 9, Parasite Blues. And hell yeah, what a riffy, catchy song. God, I like this one. It's been stuck in my head all week. And I want to call out our segment, Bring the Mosh. Because at the 125 mark, he does the part where it's she's a lingering creature, she will blow your mind, and it just gets real fucking stanky and groovy. She's a lingering creature, she will blow your mind, but when it comes to your end of this infected alliance, she won't give in. This one, yeah, it's so catchy. I've been thinking about this song all week.
yeah. Took the words all right out of my mouth.
Dude, you were
I feel like-
beaming when you said that. You were like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a broken record, but like yet again, dropping another banger on us. It's just so good. another catchy chorus. Like you said, they bring the mosh with that awesome chuggy breakdown part. And at 107 and 141, there's this cool tasty lick they do on the guitar. Just sounds really cool. I love it.
Yeah, I agree with you, boys. This is a great song. Um, Want to call out the pick scrape that they've got at 19 seconds in. I just love those little flourishes they do. I feel like there's a lot of really good tom work on the drums to give it just a really kind of primal feel. Um, at like 125, the kicks are following the guitars again as they're doing their chugs, which again just gives it like a real punchiness. Um, and then time wise, at like 142, the guitars are doing something weird where they're like dropping half a beat, but everyone's pretending like they haven't dropped half a beat, and it just kind of catches up at some point. I'm not really sure what's going on here. The guitar riff shifts forward a little bit, but I think they're still in a standard time. It's a neat little thing. And then Brother Paul's favorite, the big bass slide at
Oh yeah.
3 minutes 46 seconds. And then to top it all out, off an outro with an EBow. I mean, this song has it all.
Boom. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what more do you want? It's so good. Um, which brings
I wonder
us.
too. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I wonder if this is another one just talking about the divorce. Because she's a lingering creature. She will blow your mind. But when it comes to your end of this infected alliance, she won't give in. It was some more scorched earth litigation that Speedstrid was facing, much like that vehicle accident thing from a few albums ago. Uh,
Sounds like
he
it.
spent probably a lot of money fighting with her and probably lost half, at least half.
Oh man, this line right here, a deceiver of trust, all that you give will be returned with your feelings crushed. I mean, boy,
Yeah,
speed,
this
pick a
lady.
lane of
I mean, don't break up with musicians.
Oh man, speaking of
She may have
unseating
got
Taylor
all of his
Swift,
earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, she may have gotten all of his earthly possessions, but he wrote some searing words about her and hopefully made
And
his money back through album sales.
and he at least got to get that video of the house before she took it.
yeah.
Yeah. Come on out to the coast, have a few laughs.
Well, that brings us to the final track on this album, track number 10. Owls predict, oracles stand guard. Brother Dave, talk to me about this one.
Why is there an old Catatonia song on this album? Like, where does this come from? It's just like an old like doom death song. It's so weird. It's so
Who
weird.
wrote this one? Was it?
This was
This
Sven
is Sven
Carlson's.
Carlson.
Yeah. I was gonna say this was his contribution, and I
It
guess I'm not really familiar with old Catatonia, but to me, this sounded like some sort of blackened death metal, and it kind of reminded me of Rapture, who I hadn't listened to in forever. But I listened to songs for The Withering, I think it was, and I was like, yeah, this sounds pretty similar.
Wow, that's Doom
So
Death, baby.
like a,
yeah,
a weird doom death song. This is a super weird choice as a closer.
yeah,
Um
it's like the
and
only thing like this they've ever put out,
yeah.
just out of
Um
nowhere.
and then musically, there is one fun thing that I found in this song is that they've got very quiet bells playing around like 3 minutes, 10 seconds. That are following along with the riff.
I thought it sounded kind of like harpsichord in the background or something. Like
Maybe
the
it
keys were doing something like that. And I noticed it like at 326. So it's kind of all
Yeah,
throughout
kind of through that whole
that
section.
area. But I thought that was kind of cool too. I liked it. It's just a subtle detail that added kind of like layers of sound, and the production
Or
was pretty
layers of
good to have all
lies.
these. Also, this one
Every
does
time.
fade out at the end. Classic end to the album, but overall is totally weird and not what you'd
Yeah,
expect, but I liked
perplexing.
it. I still liked it.
Well,
It was different.
God, I have all the same notes. I have this is a weird song that does not work on this album. It doesn't work as a Soilwork song, yet I don't hate it. I think you, Brother Dave, really crystallized why I kind of like this is because it is an old Catatonia. It is a Doom Death song, which is I'm like, yeah, of course I love that. It's just
Yeah, that's your jam. You like that more than Soilwork.
absolutely.
It's like the only good song on the whole double album here, in
That's
Paul's
what I've been
opinion.
saying.
10 out of 6. Well, and a fun little note, the lyrics are based off of Dream that Olaf Flink had. So it has it like the whole song feels like a weird dream. Um and the tempo, it's painfully slow compared to the rest of the album. I don't know why they chose A to include this song, B to make it the closer. I But again, I don't hate the song itself, even though it doesn't belong.
What they should have done is buried it between this Windswept Mercy and Whispers and Lights, and then really elevated both of those songs for me.
Was this was the last album that Olaf Flink played on? Is that
Oh,
correct,
that's
or is that
coming up
not
next
correct?
episode, son. But yes, it is. This is his last
Well,
one.
I'm just wondering, like, did they know he was quitting, or did that happen sometime later? Because maybe they were like, okay, he wrote this one, he's leaving
Is
the
on the
band.
way
Just
out. Give him something.
put it on there, a little parting gift to our good old buddy.
Well, I think I had read that like Speed was having problems like writing lyrics for this song, and then Ola was like, I had a dream. And he explained
I
it
had a
all.
fever dream.
And then Speed wrote the
Did some
song, and then
shrooms.
Ola like just disappeared into mist in front of him and turned into an owl and flew away. And that's how he quit the band.
Yeah.
So
Three
Ola was in
choices:
fact
escape,
a dream.
stand guard, give in. He escaped.
yeah. So on that really weird note, let's kick this over to our resident rankings expert, Brother John.
Our final segment is Bop or Flop, where we decide, does the album slap or is it crap? We have honed a patented 6-tier ranking system going from 6 all the way down to 1. We have the Bops, a perfect 6, unassailable. This is metal incarnate. A 5, or I like to stand on that thing. It's an album we could easily listen to on repeat. A 4, or that's doable. It's a very solid album, worth listening to. And there's the flops. A 3, it lacks zazz. Nothing special, somewhat forgettable. A 2 is named that because it's a number 2. It's straight up crap. And a 1 belongs in a garbage can. This album is a disappointment to its father and the listener. And while I search for my notes of what I truly think, Paul, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Okay. And let's just bear in mind we're ranking both albums, both discs. This
Well,
is
that's true.
all of it all at once, the way they put it out. Like I mentioned up at the top, this album came out during a really dark time in my life. And I remember Brother John hitting me up, kind of when it came out and saying, dude, Soilwork just came out with a new album and it's really fucking good. And I hadn't listened to them in like 8 years really, since Stabbing the Drama. And I put it on and I was immediately blown away. Um, Especially by the first disc. That has, four of my favorite Soilwork songs ever on it. And doing this listen through, getting to know kind of the second disc, which is different. It's a little proggier in a sense. It's less driving than the first one, but it's still, a good album on its own. I think as a whole, double albums are tricky, and usually they come across as like bloated or just not, they don't work so well. But I think Soilwork pulled it off. Again, it's got some of my favorite songs they've ever done. I love this album, all of it. And with that, I'm gonna give this a 6. Brother John, have you found your notes?
I did. I was waiting for Brother Dave to go first so I could
Sandwich?
You
speak
can really
last.
Yeah,
pick
okay.
it up afterwards.
I assume Dave is going to have nothing but terrible
N-
things to say.
Well, the
So
thing
we
is,
gotta.
I agree with a lot of what Paul said. I hadn't listened to this album prior to this year when we started having talks of doing this pod. Um, I think I mentioned that earlier. This is the first one, and I haven't heard anything that came after this until a month or two ago, a couple months ago. Um, but I disagree with Paul so Paul says double albums can come across as bloated, but this one works. I ultimately think that it doesn't work. I think they've got one perfect six in here if they had trimmed down these songs into just the absolute bangers of the bangers. Uh, I would have given it a perfect six, but it kind of feels like a lot of filler is in here also, especially on the second disc where they're good songs, other than a couple of notable exceptions. Um, but very little on the second disc really grabs me. Like the first disc has songs I will go back to and listen, right? Vesta is awesome. Um, this Momentary Bliss is awesome. Uh, Tongue, I've even come around on a little more, and I think it's more solid than anything on the second disc. And I think if they trimmed it down to one, they even could have had like a full 60-minute album, and I think it would have, they still could have been a perfect six, but instead, I am forced to give it just a five. I'd still like to stand on it. This is a really well done album musically. I mean, they're incredible musicians. They're good composers. The tone is so good on everything here, and the mix is so good on everything. Um, but it just does feel bloated to me. Brother
I,
John.
well, I before we get to John, I'm just gonna say I think I agree with you. Had it just been disc one or like a selection of, had it been trimmed down, it would have been a 6.66. As it is, I had to pare it down to just a 6.
Oh,
So,
well, I mean, Dave, I get it. You feel it was marred by overlength, but I disagree. I think this album, from start to finish, both discs, is practically flawless. It's just hit after hit. I mean, my goodness, I couldn't get enough of these songs. They just get more creative stylistically on a couple of the songs in the second half, but I think what they're doing, it works. Everything flows really well, and kind of like I mentioned, those instrumentals, they use them well. They don't feel like just one-off kind of filler songs. They're kind of tying things together and adding a lot of mood to this second half of the album. And for putting out 20 songs all at once, a double disc could be difficult, but I feel like they didn't miss at all. Even the ones that were a little weird, I liked. That's pretty impressive to have 20 good tracks. Uh, Even on most of their other albums, I was like, okay, there's a snoozer here or there, but I was not hearing any snoozers on this one. So even the songs I was maybe a little less keen on, still liked them, wouldn't skip them while I'm listening. Overall, just track after track of absolute bangers. My gosh, my gush, my gush, my God, my goodness. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I am going to rate this a 6.66. This, of my dear brothers, this is metal fucking incarnate. I mean, I've always held up Natural Born Chaos as Soilwork's best album. This one, I think, ties it. Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, I went back and listened to Natural Born Chaos. I'm like, okay, this one also as good, but like I think they might have tied it with this. It's different, but it's just so good. I can't get enough of it. So there you have it. I love it.
Well, soil mates, that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we will discuss Soilwork's 2015 magnificent album, The Ride Majestic. Until then, may the metal be with you, my brothers.
And
And also with you.
with you.